Welcome to the Super Speedway.
You and the 12, too fast, section 2. No, I just put it on this bumper. I didn't vary from that. Sorry.
Welcome to episode 227 of the Super Speedway Podcast. Recorded Tuesday, March 15th, 2022. I'm your host, Eric Young, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, James Cush. Denny Hamlin makes the intro this week.
Yeah, that's great.
I mean, the guy has won how many races? He's had how many pit road speeding penalties? And he follows Ryan Blaney without looking at his lights.
And this comes a week after his shifter malfunction.
Yeah.
Now, air quote, malfunction.
Right.
So, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not, listen, last week was an all-timer. Like, we'll be on the Mount Rushmore of audio clips for this podcast with Kyle Busch. I don't know how we could have followed that up.
Yeah.
Possibly. It was just fantastic.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to beat any of that. There wasn't a whole lot to choose from this week. The fortune that was on the broadcast, and I managed. It was a late decision to use that audio clip.
Dude, listen, man, we're getting this bad boy in on a whim and a miracle tonight.
Right.
So we'll take it. I'm solo dad. You're bending to my schedule.
I mean, not really, because we're technically recording when we normally do.
We are technically on time, but as you would say, this is a Kutch production this evening. Who knows when we're starting and texting and. I
mean, to be fair, you did ask me to go tomorrow, and I said I can't. So. So I guess we're on my schedule now. It's because of me. So I'll give you that.
Hey man, flex the muscle when you can. Eric. Man, I was pumped about this winner. Go for it, man. Let's get into it.
Yeah, let's start there. Chase Briscoe, the 200th winner in the history of the Cup Series.
Oh man,
and
so cool.
He did it the right way, man. They first of all, three guys battling for their first win ever. They all raced each other clean. Great finish, thanks to Eric Jones once again being the late race caution. Somebody said on DBC this week. At least they don't. NASCAR doesn't have the debris caution anymore. Now they just have the Eric Jones caution.
Right. Yeah, it's man, and he's been running. He didn't have a great race this week, but he's showing some improvements. So I hate that he's getting this treatment, but that's a story for another time apparently.
Yeah, but Chase Briscoe put the hammer down and got her done, and held those two off. Tyler Reddick. And who the heck was the other one?
We had
Ross Chastain. Yeah,
we had Ross Chastain dealing up there, and Ryan Blaney gets bit by the pit road bug one more time. I mean, they've got to be just pulling their hair out with their pit road problems.
Got to be time to replace one or two pit crew members, don't you think?
Some people might need to be fired. I'm not a proponent of firing people, but. We had storylines across the board up there. I mean, Kurt Busch trying to get 2311 back to victory lane. Kevin Harvick keeping the top 10 streak alive.
Well, not only Kurt Busch, but I mean, we got Kurt and Kyle who managed to get Toyotas in the top 10 when the Toyotas were out to frickin' lunch all day.
They're really stinking up the joint.
But yeah, I mean, it surprised me when I heard that Kurt Busch finished fifth because he was really nowhere for a long period of time, but managed to get the finish at the end. Of course, you get that when you have late race caution that shakes things up too. Yep. But good to see at least two Toyotas get into the top 10 because they sure as heck weren't running there during the day.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they've been struggling. And Truex pounded the wall. Absolutely pounded the wall. I mean, that looked like a big hit.
We're gonna see hits like that, especially on these flat tracks, James, where you can't run speed off. You cut a tire down, you're gonna smack that wall hard with the right front.
Right, and still, I think we're having some. We are still showing some tire issues. Corey LaJoie had a tire come off. Or
did you hear what he said today? Because he was on Sirius, so they were expecting to maybe get to the bottom of whether the wheel came off first or not. But I didn't hear what he said.
No, I didn't hear what he said. And the funny thing is I listened to him on Gluck's podcast today. But
so did I.
mean that was pre-recorded. So
right.
No news out of Corey LaJoie from my end. I didn't see anything on the Twitters either. But
okay. There was a lot of speculation because the wheel nut came off that the wheel likely came off first before the contact. But it's hard to say because we don't know how these aluminum wheels, when they hit the wall, they break.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, and I mean, basically, I mean, Truex, that thing exploded.
Yeah.
When he made contact, he couldn't even drive that. I mean, he was smoking the tires trying to drive away. So,
right.
But Eric, back to that restart. I mean, you started saying it. We had all these first time winners, and how they didn't wad them up going 7 wide
Yeah.
into that dog leg, and then you had Chase Briscoe, just perfection on that last restart, blocked his way to the bottom, held his line. And then I guess he's the shifting master. We've seen this a couple times out of him. He was dropping the hammer at the Coliseum earlier this year too. So something to it. Maybe I think a lot of these teams are going to be looking at with this car.
Yeah.
Opportunities when you can find it to start downshifting and get a little more acceleration out of these corners.
I could see that happening here. I could see it happening in Loudon. I could see it happening in Martinsville. We're going to go to Gateway this year for the first time with the Cup Series. I gotta imagine they'll be shifting there.
Yeah, I think this is exploiting something that's with this new car. I think we found a little bit of a nugget here. I guarantee you the rest of the SHR guys are going to be switching over to it.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I mean, for one, it's easier to do than it was in the past because you don't have to try and find the gear. You just go forward or backward. Ask Denny Hamlin which direction to go. And then again, you got that extra gear. You got that overdrive that gives you a little bit more freedom there. The gears are closer together. If you're bogging a little bit in the turn, downshift, man.
Downshift, and we saw even in your burnouts when if you're about to hit the pit wall and you get it to stop, you can throw it in reverse actually pretty quick and smoke them the other way too. So
that was pretty impressive.
Yeah, we learned that at the end.
Yeah, I thought he was going to tear it up. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, I thought that transmission was gone. Man, Eric, what a cool to speak on Briscoe for just a little bit.
Yeah,
I love these first time winners. But
he's got such a great story.
What a story. I mean, that's it. I mean, sleeping on couches, sweeping floors in ARCA shops.
Dude, he's living your dream. He is driving his favorite driver's car.
He's doing what I do in NASCAR heat. In real life, IRL, right?
Yeah.
This is he's living the dream. And Eric, when he got out of the car, you saw him take a knee and kind of do a prayer. And many people might not know that story, but it was a very public miscarriage that his wife had, and a super tragic deal for their family. And he had some emotional Xfinity Series wins following that. I think that's when he beat Kyle Busch going toe to toe at Darlington. I mean, we know he's a wheelman and he can really drive these cars, but man, I mean, just what a story. What a drive. I mean, over 100 laps led, was not a fluke. I mean, Chase Briscoe showed up and Ryan Blaney left the door cracked open just a little bit, and he was able to slam it through and get this one. Man, Eric, we've got another driver locked into the playoffs here. It could get a little interesting if we keep this up. Yeah,
definitely could get interesting. I'm telling you, I seen some good things out of Harvick this weekend. Hamlin continues to struggle. My prediction, I'm telling you, those guys, you just filled 2 holes in the playoffs with 2 guys that we maybe weren't expecting to be there. However, I would argue that we had 2 winners last year at this point in the season where we weren't expecting them to be in either. So it's a little early to go crazy. It's a little early to start screaming that we're going to have more winners or whatever. But
we were doing this, like you said it. We were doing this last year, and then Kyle Larson started ripping. But
I don't see.
Well, I'll tell you what.
I just don't see that happening this year, James. I don't know that I see somebody just going on a tear. Because we're still learning so much.
Yeah, I don't see double-digit wins, but somebody will break through and get to like 5 or 6.
Yeah,
I mean,
probably
we might get a couple. But I will say this: Chastain and Reddick will win a race. Mm-hmm. Like
Chastain especially. That Chastain is there.
And Suarez, I mean, I wouldn't even count Suarez out. Like those guys that Trackhouse team can freaking win.
All you got to do is put Austin Dillon in the lead, and Suarez will take him out and win.
Eric, I was amazed by Trackhouse last year. I remember very fondly saying, "Man, Trackhouse, they're like not fooling around. They came to play." And then you get them in this new car, and holy smokes, they are right there with the big dogs. every week right now.
Yeah, it's definitely really interesting to see that crop of drivers that we're seeing up toward the front. I mean, Chase Briscoe, you mentioned, he hasn't been a slouch. He's been decent this season. Ross Chastain's been right there. Daniel Suarez didn't get the finish necessarily, but he's still top 10.
Top 10, yeah.
But he's been knocking on the door. Tyler Reddick has been great. Chris Buescher has been decent. I mean, there's guys up here that we don't normally see up here.
Yep. Byron won a stage. He didn't have the finish that he wanted, but he was being heard from early on. So yeah, I mean, we've got guys. Larson blows an engine. He probably could have shook things up a little bit. That car was pretty quick. He had to come from the back. But yeah, that was strange. I haven't seen an engine failure from Hendrick in a minute too. So that's something maybe to look at.
Right. And the more these cars have the same parts on them, the more you start to get nervous when that happens.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
How many cars in the field had that same motor in it?
Yeah, right. Exactly. And a lot of the Chevrolet guys do. So,
right.
Yeah, what a cool race. I know this one wasn't as popular in Jeff Gluck's good race poll, but
here's the thing, James. I wanted to talk about that because it wasn't a barn burner. It wasn't a spectacular race. It was an okay race, but it wasn't spectacular, and I'm actually happy about that because we're not going to have these spectacular races every week, and if we continue to have them every week, we're going to get that expectation, and we need a couple of these every now and then to bring us back down. The only thing that bothers me about it is that the next time we come here, we're racing for a championship. Yeah. And it's just, I'll say it again, last year did okay for us, but this just is not a great track to decide a champion at. And hopefully, no offense to Phoenix, no offense to the crowd. I know it's a great area, but hopefully this is the last time we race for a championship here.
Yeah, I don't know, what the plans would be for the future of that, but I think the pressure does get amped up. So I think we'll be okay no matter where we race for a championship. But there's definitely, there's definitely venues that can put some better racing on more consistently. But that being said, the long green flag runs, one thing we haven't seen a lot of out of this car is long sustainability.
Yeah.
And that was a positive. I think these teams have been on a long West Coast swing. They really haven't been back to the shop a whole heck of a lot right now. So these cars are getting tweaked down the road and shipped across the country. And to see them hold up the way they did, other than a few, issues, that's really good. I thought we'd see some more attrition out of these cars this early on, but they're really holding up fairly well.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Not really much to add there. It's again, it was a solid race, not to the level that we've seen the last couple of weeks, but you're going to have those from time to time, and I'm okay with that. So it was compelling. I mean, it was a good race. 3 hours and 6 minutes. It felt longer than that, so that's not a good thing. But again, I can't sit here and complain about it, James. It just wasn't to the level the other four have been, but I mean, they're not all going to be.
Listen,
so
if Jeff Gluck's poll is flatlining around 80% every week, 75% every week, man, we'll take that from where we've come from the last few years for sure.
Definitely.
So yeah, the car continues. We're going to talk. You guys might get sick of it listening to it every week, but we got to talk about it every week this year until we get past the surplus issues with the parts.
Well, I think we're going to see a big improvement here because every time the West Coast swing is always a stretch to get through in general. And with the shortages, it becomes even more of a stretch. Everybody's going to come back. They're going to check their inventory. They're going to get things back to where they need to be. Mm-hmm. Not only that, but they're going to take everything they learned at the West Coast swing that they haven't been able to to put into the cars. And you're going to see those guys that maybe you're expecting to see up front, like a Brad Keselowski, for example, or a Denny Hamlin. You're going to see those guys now start to pick things back up and start to catch back up because it's hard to catch up when you're on the West Coast. You're not working in the shop. You're not spending all that time during the week working in the shop before you go to the track. So obviously there's less to do with this car than there is with the old one, but it's still going to apply.
Yeah, and I would add to that too. Everything we do with this car is brand new. Every race, it's a whole new thing. I mean, we're going to a place this week that we've been to, but we've never been.
Right.
Not like this. And then, even if you go to a track that is pretty, we're going to go to Coda pretty soon. We've never had this car on a road course in competition. So it's brand new every week. So we have to evaluate what we're seeing on a whole different level, which I think adds to the excitement as a fan. And, that's complemented by the good racing we've seen and the elevation of, talent with, I guess, what you would typically say is lesser stuff. Right. We've seen an elevation in that as well, which has been just a theme. We're starting to see themes, which is something that I like, and we can kind of track and see what's going on, but it's still really fresh and new and exciting. And I'm at this point in the season as jazzed up as I've been about the series in quite some time, and as somebody who's a diehard fan like we are, I think that's just fantastic. I can only imagine people who are new to the sport seeing this coming around for the first time. They've got to be thrilled.
Yeah, I mean, I'm disappointed on Monday that I got to wait until the weekend for the next race.
Yeah, and when's the last time, honestly, we could really say that? You know?
I would say that this weekend I probably was looking forward to the least of the races so far this season because Phoenix just isn't my favorite track. Yeah. But still, I mean, I couldn't wait to watch it. But I'm feeling the same way about the Truck Series and the Xfinity Series too. So I don't think it's just a Cup Series thing. All three series have momentum going. I mean, there's good things happening in all three, and we're going to talk about the Xfinity Series here in a second. But yeah, so I mean, it's just everything's in a positive swing right now. We're all ready to be racing. Yep. Now, man, we're 3 races into the season, going on the 4th race of the season. Fifth race, yeah. I mean, we're in it now. This is it. We're in the season.
Yeah. And now F1 with all of their momentum, they're coming in. IndyCar's had some nice pop too. I think motorsports in general is doing really well. So this has been a fun little stretch that we're in.
Yeah, good thing. I mean, good thing gas prices are up and the recession's coming. That'll should help things out a lot.
Yeah, and the negative press will start coming from that probably. Jesus,
right. Yeah. So Chase Briscoe gets his first win in his 40th Cup Series race, as we mentioned, 200th Cup winner of all time. Pretty spectacular to think about. I don't know what the number is of drivers that have raced in the Cup Series. Chocolate Myers threw out 3,000 yesterday on the radio. I don't know how accurate that is, but. They talk that some 80% of drivers who race in the top 3 series never get a win. That just 200 drivers is not that many. No. When NASCAR has been around 70 some years. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a pretty short list to be a part of.
Yep.
And
it's
now
a fraternity.
Chase Briscoe's on it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a fraternity. And I thought it was funny too. Like, Richard Petty has 1 win for every driver who's ever won at this point.
That is funny,
which is pretty cool. I mean, so this year we're gonna get over 200. But what I saw too is every 25 race winners is about 10 to 12 years apart. Once you start getting to about 75, but there's some pretty cool names on that list of every 25. Like Brad Keselowski at Talladega was 175 back in 2009. I saw. Joe Nemechek, I think, was 150 back in the early or late 90s, like 1999 too. So it's pretty cool to join that fraternity, and we're gonna continue to add guys to it. But I'm looking at really quick. I was looking at the overall point standings, not including wins, not the playoff bracket. But Joey Logano leads the points, and it's really like. Chase Briscoe's right there. He's 4th. Kyle Busch 2nd. Chase Elliott 3rd.
Kyle Busch is 2nd in points. How incredible is that?
Yeah, he's 2nd in points after the struggles he's had. Kyle Larson and Chase Briscoe tied for 4th. Eric Almirola had his first non-top 10 finish of the season. He's 6th. Cindric 8th. Reddick 9th. So pretty cool. Little mix of some new names. I mean, we got some fresh blood, which is pretty exciting. So just wanted to throw that out there too.
Yeah. What about Harvick set a record this weekend that Fox was making a big deal out of? Yeah, tied a record.
Tied the record. Yep.
What the heck was it now? It was he's
most consecutive top 10s at one racetrack.
Right. Do we care about this? I mean, is Harvick didn't care. He said, "Who cares? I don't pay any attention to it."
I mean,
Fox was making it out to be a really big deal.
Yeah, it's a made up stat.
Yeah.
But it is, it might be a made up stat, or it's a made. I shouldn't say it's a made up stat. The stat's official.
Nobody keeps track of this crap though.
It's a fake record. It's a fake record.
Right.
But
you can't go on a list, find a list of like you can, multiple winners or whatever. You can't find a list of this somewhere.
What I would say though is, to Fox's point, I'm glad that they researched it, because it just goes to show you how good he's been at Phoenix for so long. I mean, 18. So you race twice a year. And so 18 races is almost a decade of excellence at one racetrack.
And that's 3 configurations of the same racetrack too.
Exactly. Yeah. And he's piled, he had a stretch where he's piling on runs. Has
it been less than 10 years since they made the dog leg bigger?
The dog leg? Yeah. The dog leg is less than 10 years old, I think. Yeah. I want to say that was 20.
They made the dog leg bigger and then they switched the front
maybe
stretch.
10 years. It might be 10 years. It might be.
I don't know.
That dog leg, though, Eric, I'll tell you what. I know you're not a huge fan of this track, but that dog leg is such a fun little wrinkle into a race.
I always, when they first made that, I thought this is stupid that they can cut the course like this. But when they're going 10 wide,
dude. And kudos to Kyle Busch for having the stones to be the first one to fly down there. I mean, Kyle don't care.
Well, and I also wasn't in favor of moving the start-finish line here.
I'm not a huge fan of that either.
I think it works, because to be able to hit the line and then immediately dive like that going into turn 1
on the restart,
yeah. I mean, I think that's pretty cool.
Well, and in our Xfinity Series championship race last year was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
When Hemrick moved Cindric, and that was really, I mean, that was a nice, kudos to the layout. So. I'm good with Phoenix where it's at right now. I think this is the final configuration. Let's leave it alone. We don't need to move anything else.
No. Yeah, let's leave it.
But dog leg is such a fun wrinkle. I mean, it really is just something completely unique on the schedule. Like we don't have anywhere else. It's somewhere you could really cut the track like that. It's pretty cool.
Just past where the start finish line is now in the old configuration when they originally came here. 1988 was the first race at Phoenix International Raceway. There was an opening there for the road course, and they used to clip the end of that concrete wall, and they would shorten that wall every race because they would take chunks of concrete off the end of it. I miss that. That was cool watching them. They'd put a speed shot camera right there on that wall, and they'd just come up and just scrape the sucker.
Yeah, that was cool. That was really wide out the other way. And then on the bottom of the corner, playing NASCAR Racing 03, things like that, you could hit the rumble strips. They had like a road course style rumble strip on the inside. So that was a cool little configuration. I always loved Gateway's got one of those, Eric. I think they still have it.
Gateway still has rumble strips. Yes.
And they have the wall that comes out too, I think.
Yes, they do. They put a barrier up for the IndyCar race, but the Truck Series race, it's open, and I'm curious what they'll do for Cup, because generally we don't have wall openings in the Cup Series. So I wonder if that will be one of the renovations that they do and maybe get rid of that for the Cup race. We'll see.
Maybe. The old EA Sports games, you used to be able to run the Phoenix road course, which was always really cool. You could go out onto the road course. I thought that was I can't remember which one that was, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah. Let's see. Ross Chastain gets his first top 10 finish in 8 races at Phoenix Raceway with a second place finish. It's his second top 5 in 2022. That just again goes to show you how strong he's been this season. Tyler Reddick, he posted his first top 10 finish in 5 races at Phoenix International Raceway with his third place finish. Todd Gilliland in 19th was the highest finishing rookie on the day. And Chase Briscoe becomes the third Cup Series driver to earn their first career win at Phoenix Raceway. James, I know you know one of them. Do you know the other?
He's the third to do it?
He's the third to do it. The first was in the inaugural race.
Alan Kulwicki.
Yep.
Is one.
Yes.
Which we'll come back to that. We're gonna bring Alan Kulwicki up later.
Yeah, I know why you are too.
Okay, good, because I'm mad about it. So who else had their first win there?
Yes, one other driver had their first win, and I'll give you a hint. It was in 1996.
96. Oh man, I'm drawing a blank.
Bobby Hamilton.
Oh, that's a good one.
And it was the 43 car, I believe. Was it not?
Yeah. Probably. Yeah. I don't think it would have been the Square D car back then.
I'm pretty sure it was the 43 car.
Bobby
Hamilton. Thanks to NASCAR statistics for that one.
Wow. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I would have thought I don't recall Bobby winning there. I recall Bobby winning at Martinsville. That's a good one.
There you go.
Oh, yeah, he's got He's got 4 career Cup wins. Oh, I'm in the rabbit hole. Yeah, he was driving the STP car back then.
There you go.
Yeah, he did win Martinsville, by the way, so I wasn't wrong about that. He won that with the McClure Motorsports number 4 Kodak Chevrolet.
Did he win at Darlington with the 43 car, or did he not win there? I think
he won. He won. Yep, he's got 2 wins in the 43. He won the Rock.
Okay.
So he won that Rockingham 97, 98 Martinsville, 2001 in Talladega.
Okay.
With the Square D Chevy for Andy Petrie.
Gotcha. So this must be the race that I remember winning then in the 43 car.
Of all the strange rabbit holes we've gotten into, there's a good one.
Right?
Yep. Bobby Hamilton, gentleman racer.
Yes.
Good dude.
8 caution laps or 8 caution flags for 52 laps in this one. We mentioned 3 hours and 6 minutes. We had 14 lead changes among 6 drivers and a lot of struggles passing if you listen to the door bumper clear guys. So there you go. That's Phoenix Raceway. Anything else that we missed in the Cup Series race, James? It's not as eventful as we've had the last few weeks, but
I feel like my excitement for Chase Briscoe winning was muted in comparison to how excited I really was on Sunday.
Yeah, I was pretty excited too.
There was a hard fist pump when that happened.
It's really tough for me because I really, really want Tyler Reddick to win because A, I've been cheering for him, and B, we predicted he would be the next first-time winner, and we've had 2 since that.
Yeah.
But I really want Reddick to get it. But can't root against Briscoe, man. This guy, he's a wheel man. He's had a fun start to his career. It's been really interesting to see what he's done. And how about the Brad Keselowski Racing graduates this year?
Top 4, yeah. Pretty cool, man.
So.
Yeah. I mean, Chase Briscoe, if you go back to him and Kyle Busch at Darlington in 2020, that really was his coming out party. Because he ended up winning 9 races that year in that season. Probably should have won the championship and just had a bad run in the championship race. But I mean, 22 top 10s. He had 26 top 10s the year before in the Xfinity Series. So he's been doing it for a minute, and we know he could have won the Indy Road Course last year. Things go a little bit differently, but Eric, he's 1 top 10 away from tying his total of last year already. So he's definitely. We talk about guys making the leap. He's in what appears to be in the process of making that leap.
Yeah.
And not a young guy by.
No.
I mean, we're talking about him as he's a kid, and
right.
He's 27. He's older than Chase Elliott, is he not? Hold on.
Could be.
Hold on. I'm going to verify that. Chase Elliott is 26. So yes, he is older than Chase Elliott.
I'm still struggling with the fact that Kyle Larson is 29, that he's not even 30 yet.
Yeah.
Kyle
Larson's been around. Yeah.
When I heard that when they said 29 yesterday, I was listening to the radio. That hit me hard, James. That hit me really hard.
So you don't even want to know how old Joey Logano is then.
Right. I know. Well, I was watching that. We're going to talk about the ASA video later, but there was an interview with Joey Logano at 14 in there.
Oh, Jesus.
So, but
and I was still in high school. Or I was great. I think I was out of high school. If he was, oh my God.
So, we kind of glossed over it, but I did want to reiterate: top 4 drivers in this race are Brad Keselowski Racing former drivers. We had Austin Cindric get himself a win this season in the Daytona 500. Also, a Brad Keselowski Racing driver. We've talked before, James, about who it was the best at finding talent, developing talent. And, we talk, Kyle Busch gets a lot of credit. Junior Motorsports gets a lot of credit. But I think a lot of people forget because the BK Racing guys didn't jump up and just immediately start winning. Yep. But there's been some really skilled drivers that have gone through that organization.
Yeah. They're next.
And maybe more drivers that were skilled that went through that organization than weren't. I mean, a lot of the drivers that race there are doing great things or getting there. So, very cool for Brad. Would like to see. Hopefully, Brad can turn things around because he's had a rough start to the season.
Yeah, he'll get there. But, I mean, I have no doubt that team will start to find its way. I mean, it's a process, but I mean, they got a top 10 out of Chris Buescher, so. Take your small victories and keep plugging away. They're going to be fine. They'll be fine.
James, I'm going to give you an opportunity here before we leave the Cup Series race. Shall we grade Danica Patrick's performance in the booth one more time?
I tell you what, Clint Boyer's Twitter account got hacked during the race, and he didn't have the worst day in that booth. I'll tell you that. So,
hey, credit to Clint Boyer for calling Danica out and telling her this isn't IndyCar.
Danica relies, in all seriousness, she relies on her experience.
Yeah.
And unfortunately,
she doesn't have any.
She doesn't have a good experience in racing. Honestly, like it's not. There was that wreck when Truex wrecked on the or on the back stretch. Immediately in my mind, I thought, "Oh, Danica wrecked there once." I remember that because it was really bad. And sure enough,
yep, she pointed it out.
She brought it up, and I texted our group chat too earlier that I had to put it on mute after she said something completely ridiculous. So
yeah,
which again, I'll bring that up again towards the end of the show.
Perfect. So yeah, they talked. I think it was on DBC this week. They talked about the fact that she does a decent job of hosting the pre-race show for the IndyCar series. She's just not good in this role. It's not Danica's fault. We bash Danica. We've done our share of bashing Danica on this podcast. I don't have a problem with Danica Patrick. And they pointed out on there, if NASCAR knew what they were doing, they would have her at the track in some capacity every weekend. And they pointed out, I think Brett Griffin pointed out, make her the pace car driver. Get her involved because she's good for the sport, but don't put her in the booth, man. It just doesn't work for her there. Another spot you could put her, James, they suggested on the podcast, and you're gonna cringe because you hate this segment, but make her do the grid walk.
Oh God.
But seriously, I mean, she's good at interacting with people. She's got a podcast. She's good at interacting with people, interviewing people. Don't make her do color commentary. She sucks at it. It's not her fault. She sucks at it. Some people just can't do it, So
and to go back, Danica Patrick belongs in the NASCAR Hall of Fame. I'm sorry, she will get there, I'll
she better.
I will defend Danica in certain situations.
Do you think she will get there? Do you think she'll get nominated?
Yeah, she'll get in.
I have my doubts that she will.
She'll get in.
She should, but I have my doubts that she will.
Yeah, she will definitely make it at some point. I don't know when. She's not allowed to be on the ballot until this coming vote. I think she'll be able to be on the ballot, so we'll see. Okay. She retired she retired the year after junior. So yeah, she should be on the ballot.
She should have been able to be this past season then, because junior had to wait a year.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Junior retired 2017. She retired 2018. So yeah, she should be coming up for a nomination. If she gets in before somebody like Carl Edwards, I might have an issue with that. But
I wouldn't be surprised if she gets overlooked, James. I really wouldn't. She shouldn't, but no, I wouldn't be surprised if she does.
But if you want to put a marketable face on the Hall of Fame, Danica Patrick's definitely a good person to get out there, and she's deserving on her own merit. She is when you think of women driver in the sport, on a tangent here for a second, but women drivers in the history of motorsport, she's the one that comes to mind as far as longevity is concerned. Nobody did it better than Danica.
Right.
Janet Guthrie's probably, better. Yeah.
I mean, you don't think that Jennifer Jo Cobb should get in before Danica in the Hall of Fame?
Man, holy smokes. Put Natalie Decker in there then too. Yeah.
Hey man, she's making good with that Bush sponsorship on TikTok. James is a big fan of Natalie Decker on TikTok.
How
just for the record.
Awful! I mean, how awful are we as two white dudes sitting here?
Yeah, we really sound like dicks, don't we?
Bashing on.
You really do. No, seriously though, I do think Danica Patrick, if we could get her involved somehow, it'd be good. It would be good for the sport. I guess I give her credit for trying it. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not thinking that she necessarily knocked on Fox's door and said, "Hey, can I do this?" Mm-hmm. Honestly, I think it has a lot to do with what Clint wants in that booth right now. It's Clint's buddies that are going in there. It's people that Clint has had relationships with. It's not just, I mean, nobody's been in that booth yet hasn't had some connection with Clint. So
of course, yeah. I mean, next week I've dropped it in the news. We might as well say it now. Yeah. Jeff Gordon's back in the booth. This week, which I'm looking forward to having Jeff back. I thought he was great.
Yeah,
I think the booth kind of misses Jeff just a little bit.
I think so. I wouldn't mind seeing just Clint and Mike do something too. Have a week where we don't have the third or the second analyst, but
Fox has bigger issues than just who's calling their races at this point. I mean, it's noticeably getting pretty rough.
Yeah.
everything that they're doing. So
Yeah.
I digress.
So we head over on Saturday. We had the NASCAR Xfinity Series race in the whatever the heck it was, the United Rentals 200 at Phoenix Raceway, and Noah Gragson finally makes good on where he's had the opportunity all season long. Finally gets that win, 114 laps led, essentially dominates the race, gets himself the victory, wins stage 2, second in stage 1. This was a Noah Gragson day. Only 3 other drivers led double-digit laps. Brandon Jones with 30, Trevor Bayne with 38, and then John Hunter Nemechek with 11. So good on Noah Gragson to get that win and climb the fence, man.
Yeah, he did. He definitely did. Eric, I gotta say, what do we think? What do we think of Trevor Bayne right now?
I don't know.
Dude's running.
He is.
He's running.
He is. They added races for him.
Yeah,
he's gonna run some more races this year, so that's good. Yeah, I mean,
he's two starts, 2 top 5s. He could win a race.
Yeah. Well, we talked about it last week that Trevor had the problem that he got ran over to Roush, and Roush was struggling, and we didn't know how bad Roush was struggling at the time. We knew they were struggling, but we didn't know how bad. And he got
railroaded out of there for Matt Kenseth.
Yeah,
which was pretty ugly.
Yeah. So I mean, there's probably a lot of potential there for Trevor Bayne that we never saw, and we're gonna see it a little bit right now. I mean, again, if there was a car in the field that you would want to run in and prove yourself in, there's probably no better car than that one.
That's the one.
So if there's an 18 or a 54 on the door, I mean,
or a 20, that's stable.
Hey, speaking of 20, I want to jump back to the Cup race because whoever the idiots are who decided to put the Christopher Bell paint scheme on Kyle Busch's car this weekend, man, that pissed me off.
I liked it. I liked it.
So, okay, the chrome numbers, I was a big fan of the chrome numbers. I could not tell that wasn't 20 because I couldn't see those damn numbers.
Did you see the viral photo that went around of them trying to get that car through tech?
No.
Because the chrome numbers screw up the laser system. They spray painted they spray painted the 18 inside the chrome, and it looked absolutely ridiculous.
I'll have to look for it.
Yeah, it's out there.
All right, well, let's go back to this. Back to the Xfinity race.
Eric, I was going to ask you since let's jump back to Noah Gragson. I know we're jumping around a little bit. If you had to guess off the top of your head, what is his average finish so far through 4 races? How do you think he's doing? Top of your head, what
third?
Do you think? You're close. He is an average finish of 2.
Nice. I was going to go 2, but that seemed too easy.
Yeah, 3rd at Daytona, 2nd, and then the win at Phoenix. So he has led multiple laps in every race. So
I couldn't remember where he finished at Daytona. If I remembered he was 3rd, then I would have gone with
1 of 3 in 2 seconds, and he is lighting it up right now.
Is there anybody in the Xfinity series that celebrates better than him?
I don't know. He's pretty good. He's a party animal, man.
Yeah,
I love that. I love that. I mean, when he really gives last year,
he gives me a Tim Richmond feel, James.
A little, yeah.
He really does.
Yeah, he's got the hairdo going too.
Yeah, and I mean, he's the guy that you'd expect in the group photo to probably, you want to cover up the middle area of his body to make sure he's not doing something shady in the group photo for the All-Star race, and you know, all that stuff.
If you don't know that story, you look that up on your own. Make sure it's not on your work computer.
Yeah.
There.
He really gives me that vibe.
Eric, we talked about this. I can't remember. Maybe it was 2 pods ago, 3 pods ago. I don't remember
what his path is.
Well, no, it's well, that's kind of it. But at some point last year, I feel like he hit rock bottom, and then he blossomed, and ever since then he has just been doing what he's supposed to do at this point in the Xfinity series. But you had it. I think, if I'm recalling this correctly, you said there's nothing left. He's just got to keep winning. And that's pretty much what he's doing at this point. He's just got to keep winning these races. I mean, he had that Martinsville race he won to get himself to Phoenix last year in a must-win situation was absolutely massive. And I wish he could have finished it off and got that title. But it's fun to watch. And right now this looks like a guy who's going to win 9 or 10 races in the Xfinity series right here. This is the kind of projection you're looking at with how he's driving right now.
I mean, the biggest challenge he's got is he's going to have to battle the other junior motorsports cars because they've all been really good too.
Yes.
Justin Allgaier got a 10th place finish here, which part of the story there is they had a pit road issue where they took the gun out of the pit stall at the end, the last pit stop, which penalized him. He had to do a drive-through. He raced back up to 9th, and then they pitted on the checkered flag lap to tighten the lug nuts because they had 2 missing lug nuts that they were aware of, and they didn't want to get the penalty. So they realized they could pit. They were at the right place. They could pit and only lose 1 position.
And stay in the top 10. Yeah.
Brilliant. So still a top 10 finish for Justin Allgaier. Josh Berry finishes 3rd. You know, it's these guys are doing well in these junior motorsports cars. So, and then of course you've got the JGR cars as well. I mean, between those 2 groups.
Yeah, I mean, Trevor Bain's coming to steal some stuff, and you know, John Hunter Nemechek's dipping down a little bit too, with Ty Gibbs being as good as he is as well, and Brandon Jones. I mean, shout out to that guy, finished 2nd, and Brandon gets overlooked a little bit compared to who he's running with a lot, but he's a pretty solid guy behind the wheel too. So I you know, that Joe Gibbs stable is always going to be solid. It's really those 2 teams right now. Everybody else is kind of, you know, floating around. Yeah. Even Colleague. I mean, Colleague is very, very good. They've got AJ Allmendinger, and they're going to be just fine. Landon Castle, Daniel Hemrick in there too. But that team is absolutely a threat. We'll see more of them soon. But right now, it's pretty cut and dry between Gibbs and JR. I feel like.
So I asked this again. I think I asked it last week or maybe the week before. And I hinted at it a minute ago. What is the path for Noah Gragson? There's no way he runs another year in the Xfinity Series. If he runs another year in the Xfinity Series, it's a waste.
Yeah, I don't.
So there's nowhere at Hendrick. He's not going to Hendrick.
He's just got to. I mean, you look at Chase Briscoe. I guess is kind of a comp here. You know, when we didn't know at the time that Clint Boyer was going to be, you know, forced into retirement.
Right.
That's what I'll say it that way. But you've got to be, if you're Noah Gragson, you have to be so good that somebody cannot deny your talent. You've got to be put somewhere. And I just don't know. I don't know what the
Chevy
opening
keep
is.
him? I mean, they're going to have a colleague ride.
Yeah.
That they could put him in.
They could put him in a colleague ride. There's no room at Hendrick. Trackhouse, maybe if you
need another charter though. Yeah, that's the thing. You need a charter.
You need a charter. Do you look at if you're like Brad Keselowski, maybe? That's
I'm wondering. Do you take Brad? There's going to be an open seat at Stuart Haas.
Stuart Haas is what I was going to say next. Yeah, if you're looking at somebody to hop into the 10 ride, that'd be a nice fit there. So yeah, I mean there's going to be options. I just don't know. You know, like.
How much does Chevy have him locked down, I guess?
Right.
And then, of course, I saw rumors on Reddit again that, of course, we've never heard anything to substantiate this, but we know he was looking last year. You know, does Junior Motorsports come into the Cup Series?
Right.
You know, did they get a charter? And
it's now the time. And you know, I will say too, let's not count it out. I mean, Kurt Busch and Kevin Harvick at their age, we cannot rule out that they would retire. Even though they've just got these rides. Doesn't sound like Kurt's going anywhere, but I haven't heard anything on Kevin just yet. So let's wait and see, I guess, on those as we get a little bit later into the year.
Right. Oh, let's see. Noah Gragson. It's his 6th victory in the Xfinity Series. Only 6 wins in the Xfinity Series. That's kind of surprising. 106 Xfinity Series starts. First victory and 4th top 10 finish in 2022. So, yeah, you mentioned he's been right there all season long. Yeah. It's his first victory at Phoenix Raceway. He's run 7 races there before. It's his 4th top 10 finish at Phoenix. Sheldon Creed was the highest finishing rookie on the day in 14th.
My boy.
There you go. There's your Xfinity Series. One other thing I wanted to point out in this before we move on to the news, James, is I mentioned Danica Patrick in the last segment. I wanted to mention that there is somebody who's been in the booth this season that is very strong and has a bright future in the broadcast booth when his NASCAR career is over. And unfortunately for many, it's going to be a while yet, and that's Joey Logano. He is absolutely terrific, in my opinion, as a color commentator.
Yeah, he's good.
He does a great job. He works well with whoever he's with in the booth. He's funny. He's entertaining. I'm a Joey Logano fan, so maybe that helps, but I think he's incredible at it, and he did a good job again this weekend.
I agree with that. I checked in for a little while on Joey, and yeah, he's good. He's
been a bright spot of those Xfinity broadcasts all season long.
Man, keep him in the Xfinity booth for a while. I mean, let him get some reps. He ain't got to go to Cup for a while. He's got some driving to do still.
Exactly. And Daniel Suarez did a good job again as well in the Phoenix race. So it's always good to hear him in the booth. Again, a guy, I'm sitting here thinking that Suarez, I'm assuming that English isn't his first language. To go and do broadcasting in your second language, I can't fathom that, because I know a little bit of Spanish, but not enough of a second language to even speak it fluently, let alone do a broadcast.
Man, and shout out to Daniel Suarez, because that guy was so close to being gone forever.
Yeah.
And he stuck it. I love the guys that can grind. Mm-hmm. And that dude went to Gaunt and he did the grind, like absolute grunt work, grinded it out a whole season, and worked his way over to Trackhouse. And man, is that a sunny, rosy situation that he's found himself in. The best ride he's had, he had top tier rides with Stuart Haas for 1 year, and then Joe Gibbs obviously replacing Carl Edwards. But this is the best he's looked since getting into the Cup Series. And this is a guy who's an Xfinity Series champ. So I love that he's sticking around, and doing TV is only going to help him. With his brand that he's working to build. I mean, you love to see the recovery. I mean, it's a great story, because he could have been gone pretty quick. Yeah, I love that he's sticking around.
You got to really respect those guys that are able to take the step back and start over. In one of the lower series. You got Daniel Hemrick, who's done that. John Hunter Nemechek, right, James? I mean, I know.
Yep. He went too far back, but
I just had to throw it out there for you.
He did that but that's the thing with him. He did that on his own. I don't know.
Right.
Like he's on a whole different trajectory. I'm not sure
but I mean, he was on a path to, something like, you could see something like Corey LaJoie doing something like this too, Yeah. Corey just ended up in the wrong path to where he didn't get the top notch ride. He's a good driver. And maybe he could have jumped down to one of the lower series and gotten back on the right path. Who knows? And obviously the John Hunter Nemechek story is still, here to be told. We don't know what's going to happen with him.
I'm not sure
obviously,
how that's going to.
He's doing well in the Truck Series, but will he get that opportunity to come back up? Who knows?
Well, and that's why I'm enjoying, I'm enjoying this Landon Castle story, and I hope that he can. Man, if that dude finds victory lane, that's going to be something. I really hope he can figure out a way to get there.
You can go way back in NASCAR history to look at something like this too, and we're going to talk about ASA here in a bit. But Mark Martin did this. He made a jump to the Cup Series, struggled terribly, and went back down to ASA, won a championship there, and then came back up to NASCAR. And obviously, we know what Mark Martin became. So
and Mark Martin, admittedly, was not mature enough to get to the Cup Series. He had.
I mean, it was easier back then because. You didn't start racing in the Cup Series till you were 35.
And I don't think that too. And he raced till he was dang near 55.
Right.
I don't think I'm speaking out of turn here, and if I am, Eric, edit this. But he had alcohol substance issues as part of that as well, and he went back, got down to I guess get his elbows dirty a little bit, and reshaped his entire life and structure, and came back more prepared, more mature, and Hall of Famer now. So
there you go.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
Like I said, you got to applaud anybody who's able to take a step back and make the run and change their career trajectory. That's a big word for me to say in a podcast.
That is a big word. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Career trajectory.
Good work.
There you go. That's why I'm a professional, James.
Do this for a living.
Barely say my name correctly. All right, let's talk some news. Not a ton of stuff. James put in notes here. We want to definitely follow up. I didn't get a chance to watch the ARCA race, but and as a matter of fact, when I forgot the ARCA race was even on Friday night, and I saw you post in our group chat that was a great win or whatever, and I'm like, what in the hell is he talking about? But obviously, we talked last week about the hauler driver who was killed. Or for David Gilliland Racing in the ARCA Series, and Taylor Gray backs it up with a big win at Phoenix Raceway for that team, and very, very cool deal for them for sure.
They weren't sure that he was going to race. Yeah, there was talk that they were going to sit this one out. They got a car, put it together, ran it unsponsored with just the names on the car, and man, only in sports, you know,
right?
Only in sports. That's part of why we love this stuff. We love racing. We love everything else that you just don't get the human aspect of this. It's so deep, so impactful, so powerful. I don't know. I mean, I know it's the ARCA series. It's not as well known nationally, but just, I mean, this is just something. I mean, we've seen this in motorsports a handful of times, Eric,
Yep.
and it never ceases to amaze me that when tragedy strikes, you know, the story finds a way to break through, and kudos to David Gilliland Racing, Taylor Gray, getting it done. Huge emotional win, and Taylor said it best. I mean, these guys on this team are his brothers, his family, and just cool. I mean, just it's worth shouting it out. We don't talk the ARCA series a whole heck of a lot, and this is probably the biggest story of the weekend. I think even surpassing Chase Briscoe's first win, which was huge. This was something else. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, the ARCA Racing series too. I mean, I haven't watched it since Daytona, but seems to be on an upswing as well this year. They've got a lot more cars.
Yeah, there's some health. They got some. Yeah, they're healthy. I would say it looks healthy at this point.
They definitely hit a transition period for a couple of years there with NASCAR's purchase and the uncertainty of what ARCA was going to become and the new car and all that stuff. And they've seemed to have a resurgence coming, so that's good.
Yep, very cool.
Good series to have. We need to keep that series going.
Yep.
That was one of my big worries when NASCAR bought them, is whether they would do the right thing or the wrong thing, and it felt a little bit for a while like it might have been going the wrong direction, but it's good to see that coming together for them. So
Yep, exactly. Hopefully they can keep it going strong.
Speaking of NASCAR leadership, we had a leadership shakeup this week. Steve O'Donnell has been promoted to Chief Operating Officer, and Ben Kennedy has returned to the competition team, where he will be the Senior Vice President of Racing Development and Strategy.
Yep.
I don't know. I've lost track of where the hell all these guys are in the organization. I pretty much know that Steve O'Donnell, Ben Kennedy, Mike Helton, all those guys are
Steve Phelps.
Yep. They're very important people in NASCAR, and that's all that really matters to me.
Well, you know, this press release is all this says to me was, oh boy, the Clash was a huge success.
Yeah.
Here you go. Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me.
Yep.
We want to make sure that our executives are promoted accordingly, because we had a huge hit on our hands at the Coliseum.
It kind of felt like we just took the nameplates off the doors and just shuffled them and put them back up on the doors, and we're like, okay, this is the announcement this week. So,
well, you know, and I'm sure their bank accounts are totally fine with that.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure that was another change.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But, you know what? In all seriousness, though, these guys have helped guide us through, and Phelps as well, have kind of, at this point, they've brought us out the other side of some pretty weird stuff.
James, they dug us out of the Brian France hole.
The Brian France hole, and then after that we were hit with a global pandemic for 2 years. They navigated their way through that. Yeah,
their way so well through it. I mean, we didn't have a failure during the pandemic, James. Everything went off without a hitch.
The only black eye on the sport was the Donald Trump, Bubba Wallace fiasco.
That's true. We did have that.
What are you supposed to do with a situation like that? Either you don't, you know. But again, the leadership of NASCAR has guided us through, and I've been shaky on my trust of NASCAR, and I still have my my reservations.
Well, our job is to be skeptical.
Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, we have a podcast. We have we have content to create here. So, but and
I'm probably a bigger NASCAR cheerleader than you are. I tend to be more in favor of the things that they try to change, because I like change despite being a traditional fan. And you're an old curmudgeon who doesn't like change.
Larry David, yes. But we you are correct. They got us when Brian France had his DUI. That was, I'm not kidding you, the best moment the sport has had in 12 to 15 years, because it got him out. Clear out, got him out of the way. Yeah. And we've done so much better since. I mean, here's
the thing. Even if Brian France wasn't, and I don't want to sit here and rip on the guy, but even if Brian France wasn't as terrible as fans perceive him to have been, the perception is the reality. period. And the fact that he's not in the leadership role anymore, there are still people that are very hurt as fans from the period of time when he was here. And they still have not forgiven the sport.
Yep.
So, you know.
And Tony Stewart famously would go after Brian France big time.
Right.
And he has been proven to be completely right. Because, you know, you've got these guys who live and breathe this stuff. Brian France didn't care. He only cared about the bottom line.
Yeah.
Steve O'Donnell and Ben Kennedy and Steve Phelps, they care more about the people in the sport than anything. I get that feeling. Those are the types of guys like I would follow those guys into, you know, I guess well, this isn't the right I'm not going to say what I was going to say because I'm going to correct myself. I would work for those guys. Let's put it that way.
You would follow them blindly into a major super speedway-esque experiment such as the one this weekend in Atlanta.
Yes, thank you. Yes, blindly. Yes, yep. And I'll be skeptical most of the time, but I'll follow you. Well, I will follow you.
We'll talk about that here in a few minutes. You mentioned we already talked about Jeff Gordon being back in the booth. Good to see him there. We've hinted a little bit about the ASA thing. So NASCAR Man history, right? Was it?
Mm-hmm.
NASCAR Man put a video out about potentially NASCAR bringing the ASA series back. The American Speed Association. Apparently NASCAR has trademarked the name. They did it last year. This is the second time they've actually owned the name. They owned it previously and then let it expire. So a little rumors floating around. We know that we talked about earlier this season on the podcast that the Championship Racing Association, I believe is the organization, CRA, is planning a national late model series as well. So who knows? Maybe it would be in conjunction. Maybe it would be separate. This could be a good thing or a bad thing, James. You know, you sent this message earlier today, and I said I don't know how to take this because it could be NASCAR buying it to rebrand something that exists. You mentioned before we started the podcast that it could be the electric series that we've. God, I hope not. That would be okay. Blindly follow NASCAR, but that would be pretty stupid, in my opinion, to do that. That would be dead on arrival, because you're not going to get those traditional ASA fans to buy into an electric series,
right?
But I mean, it'd be very, very cool to see NASCAR come up with a another national late model series, especially something. Yep. The spec late models that they ran, something similar to that in the ASA series. I mean, these were late models that you could find at a lot of your, Friday, Saturday night short tracks that you could race in this series and it would work. And anyway, this video, the YouTube link is in the show notes at the superspeedway.com. Great video, just kind of the history of ASA. And I was pretty up on the history of how it all worked out, but not fully. And it filled in some gaps for me with the whole deal with how CBS bought the part of the series, and then MTV took over TNN and drove them out. And that's I knew that the series ended because they were buying TV time on Speed Channel, but I didn't realize how they got there to that point. So it's a really interesting video. Worth watching and very cool if we can get some semblance of the ASA back, James.
Yeah.
There's some major graduates that went through the Cup Series. Mark Martin, Alan Kwiecki, Rusty Wallace. Yep. Jimmy Johnson raced in the ASA Series. Kyle Busch raced in the ASA Series. Joey Logano raced in the ASA Series. There's a lot of big names that went through that series. That it'd be a great place to grow, the young kids. I mean, nowadays they'd be racing the ASA Series when they're like 10.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, Joey was 14 when he raced in ASA. So
I mean, Jimmy Johnson, Mark Martin, all these guys came from the ASA Series.
Other Ted Musgrave, Dick Trickle, for God's sakes.
Oh God, yeah, the GOAT, yeah. I mean, Kyle Busch was an ASA driver, so it's a lot of big names, champions come out of the ASA Series, and it's a Midwest series. Eric, show us some love.
Exactly.
That's our neck of the woods. I mean, ASA has been in our backyard a couple of times. So
there you go. Only other news item: Richard Childress said this week that he basically said that he's got Tyler Reddick wrapped up. James, Reddick is contracted at least through 2023 for Richard Childress Racing, and doesn't seem like Richard plans on him going anywhere. So
nope. I mean, that guy's the future of the organization. If you do this right, he can be your flagship driver. Unfortunately for Austin Dillon,
right,
he's killing him.
Right.
So,
there you go. With that, James, we go to Atlanta Motor Speedway this weekend, and we're going to do our picks here in a minute, which I just
don't even know what to do.
I have to ask you, what is your strategy going in these picks? Because I'm pretty much, I'm thinking about just taking – I've not picked my drivers. Normally I have my drivers picked before this.
I know if I'm going to pick for the Cup race, if you don't take the driver I'm taking, but if you take the driver I'm going to take, I don't know where else to go.
I'm really tempted to just, close my eyes and pick somebody from the point standings and – that's my driver, because I don't.
Yeah.
You can't go by past history at Atlanta. You can't go by super speedway races. You can't go by mile. There's no way to know who to pick here. It's ridiculous. So anyway, Atlanta Motor Speedway this weekend. James, I wanted to spend a little bit more time on this because we have such a. We're basically going to a new racetrack this weekend.
Yep.
Just to recap, in case you've been living under a rock. Atlanta Motor Speedway, they had to repave the track. It's had the same asphalt on it for about 78 years. Not really. 1996.
96, 97. Yeah.
Yeah. When they reconfigured it, they paved it, and the asphalt's been falling apart, so they had to repave it. And the brilliant minds at Speedway Motorsports and NASCAR decided that instead of asking the drivers what they should do, they would just go off the wall and do their own thing and try to make a 1.5 mile super speedway. So what we've got here, the apron, James, the apron is the same. The apron is banked at 2 degrees. That is the only thing that has not changed. The former transition apron, so the space between the apron and the racetrack, used to be 4 degrees. It is now 18 degrees, James, which is the banking at Michigan International Speedway in the corners. It is the banking in the tri-oval at Daytona and Talladega. 18 degrees. The former banking in the turns was 24 degrees. It is now 28 degrees. So an extra 4 degrees in the turns. Previously, the track width, the front stretch, back stretch, and turns were all 55 feet wide. Now, the new configuration, the front stretch is 61.6 feet, or 61 feet, 6 inches wide. The back stretch is 42 feet wide, and the turns are 40 feet wide. So this is what we've got here at Atlanta Motor Speedway this weekend. There are a lot of people that are screaming that NASCAR wants 3 wide racing, and there's no way they're going to race 3 wide here. But James, I did some research, and it's really hard to find the width of racetracks. They talk about length and all that banking, but most of the places don't publicize the width. But I was able to find some. So Atlanta Motor Speedway, 40 feet wide at its skinniest part. Do you know how wide Daytona International Raceway is, James?
It's not that wide, honestly. It's probably 75 feet.
40 feet wide.
Oh, my God.
The racing surface at Daytona is 40 feet wide. And guess what? They race 3 wide at Daytona.
Yeah, they certainly do.
Daytona's banking, however, is 31 degrees versus Atlanta's 28. Talladega is only, James, 48 feet wide.
Why did they get 70 from?
I don't know. I don't think there's a track on the circuit that's 70 feet wide, to be quite honest.
I guess Phoenix may be the only one.
Maybe. So 48 feet wide at Talladega, 33 degree banking. Bristol Motor Speedway, James. Do you know how wide Bristol Motor Speedway is?
35.
You maybe take an easier guess. It's 40 feet wide, James.
Oh, well, there you go.
30 degrees of banking at Bristol. Charlotte Motor Speedway, I was unable to find the width officially, but I believe that Charlotte Motor Speedway and Las Vegas Motor Speedway that we just raced at are also 40 feet wide. Charlotte has 24 degrees of banking in the turns. So the verdict is out on this and whether we're going to get a super speedway style race or not. We are running the super speedway package, 510 horsepower motors. We will have a yellow line rule, which is going to leave a lot of question marks. So that'll be interesting. But so my concern is that you are taking a smaller track and wanting to run wide open all the way around it. I would think you'd need to have higher banking than what you have on the super speedways, not less. Is 4 degrees of banking in Atlanta going to be enough to allow you to run in a pack full throttle? I don't know.
I don't know. iRacing says maybe.
Yeah. So a lot of unknowns this weekend.
Well, and I heard this might have been on the teardown. I'm gonna give Jeff and Jordan credit. That the track is already becoming abrasive a little bit.
Okay.
Like the surface is not like Michigan, where it's glass.
Interesting.
So that's something that's going on. I'd like to see that this weekend though, so don't take my word 100% for it.
That may either help or hurt. They also did a lot of stuff with drainage with the track as well. There's a lot of drainage built into it, so it should age a lot better than the old track did. Less weepers, all that stuff. The other thing that was noted, Justin Allgaier was on Door Bumper Clear, and they asked him about it, and Justin pointed out that they're running the super speedway package, and if they have to lift in the turns, the normal 1.5-mile package, the normal package that they run at tracks, has drag when you lift off the throttle. It's designed that way, but the super speedway package doesn't have that. So if they're lifting going into the turns, they're going to need to do more than just lift because they're not going to scrub off any speed when they lift. So that's an interesting factor that didn't really think about. So anyway, I find it really interesting. The concern about not being able to run 3 wide, that shouldn't be an issue. We run 3 wide at every one of the tracks that I mentioned that has 40 degree width. Certainly do it at Daytona, no problem. I am very optimistic and hopeful for this weekend, and I'm very, very excited going into Atlanta. I really hope it does what they want it to do because I want another super speedway race. So I hope it works, and we're going to get to see the first test on Saturday when we run the Truck Series and the Xfinity Series in a doubleheader. Yeah, what do you think? Are you excited about this? I'm not disappointed about losing the old Atlanta because personally, I thought the old Atlanta sucked.
Well, here's my counter to that, and here's where I'm coming from.
Okay.
Auto Club in Vegas were pretty dang good.
Yeah.
with the packages the way they were.
Yeah.
So the old Atlanta probably would have been pretty decent.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Right. I don't know.
But here's the thing, man. We got enough 1.5 miles. If they wanted to do something completely wild and different like this, by God, do it. Who cares?
It's Marcus Smith's money, man.
Yeah, spend it.
Yep.
And if it don't work, tear it up and do it again.
Yeah, or do like Bristol and just ignore the problem for the next several years.
Or do like Texas and die a slow death. I guess.
Oh my God.
Texas is
maybe if this works, we do something like this at Texas.
Maybe God. You might have to. Yeah, Texas is completely. Ugh. But I'm optimistic for this race. I don't know what the super speedway package is going to do here, but they've been testing, so. I mean, we'll see.
The simulators say it will work.
Yeah, I'm not convinced we're going to see pack racing, but let's see it. Let's see it.
And again, it was Justin or might have been Joey Logano this morning that said, even if they don't have pack racing, you're going to have big runs.
Yeah,
and the racing is going to look wild one way or the other.
I'm looking forward to something different. I don't care. I mean, this isn't like slapping dirt on Bristol to me. This is a complete.
It's definitely more of a commitment.
Yeah, it's a full blown change. So yeah, let's see it. NASCAR's been I've been throwing haymakers at NASCAR for a while, and they keep countering with body shots. And this could be the knockout blow for me. if they nail this, I'll have to shut up and just take it from now on. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I can't wait for it. I really wish it was Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday night under the lights.
So let's see here, just to recap, because we don't normally do this, but because we have the doubleheader this weekend and because there's a lot of anticipation with this race, we do have 50 minutes of practice for the Cup Series this weekend, by the way. Friday, the Camping World Truck Series, NASCAR Xfinity Series, and Cup Series will all get practice time starting at 3 p.m. with the Truck Series, moving through 5 p.m. To 6 p.m. for the Cup Series, with the Xfinity Series sandwiched in between. That's Eastern Time. We have qualifying for the Truck Series kicking things off at 10:30 in the morning on Fox Sports 2 on Saturday. Qualifying for the Cup Series at 12:30. Xfinity Series is between those. The Camping World Truck Series runs the Freight 208 at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, and the NASCAR Xfinity Series starts at 5 p.m. with the Nally Cars 250. Cup Series on Sunday at 3 p.m. for the Folds of Honor Quick Trip 500. As for picks, so last week I beat James, but not enough, unfortunately.
What happened to us, man?
It was
on Sunday.
Bad day.
beat down. At least you got stage points. I got nothing.
Yeah. So James had Martin Truex Jr. and got a whopping 2 points out of the day. I got 13 with Kyle Larson. Fortunately, Justin Allgaier got me some points on Saturday with 41 to Daniel Hemrick's 32. So I beat James by 20 points, but James still has a 26-point lead. So I get to pick first. And again, I don't have a freaking clue. I think I'm going with aggression this weekend.
Sure.
So the freight auction's 200 on actually it's 208, James. 208.
Oh, my bad.
According to Atlanta. On Saturday with the Truck Series is our first pick. And let me look here real quick. I had an idea of where I was going.
Don't take mine, dude. I've got a plan.
I'm going to go with who I was going to go with, and I'm going to go with Zane Smith. I don't know why.
Oh, nice.
There's absolutely no reason, but I'm going Zane Smith for this one.
Zane Smith.
I just feel like last year I saw Gilliland like really rough it up with this truck and really willing to get in. Zane Smith's a great driver. I think the team's going to be supportive of, using the bumper and getting in there, and that's what I'm going for. So just completely pulling out of my butt, James.
Yeah, that's fine. That's good. I'm only going to get to sneak a pick past you one time right here, so I'm going to do it right now. Ryan Preece, I'm going to take him. He has claimed Truck Series points, so
nice.
He's not running all the races, but he'll score. So
I'm still comfortable with my Zane Smith pick over your Ryan Preece.
Yeah,
pick.
I think I mean Ryan Preece, he's won in that truck before, so I'll go there, and I like that he's recently a cup driver, so we'll see what he can do. That's a good truck. I don't know if I don't know what he's gonna look like. I'm not super confident in it, but I like the talent behind the wheel there. I'll go Preece.
I'm gonna go. You know what? I'm just gonna throw it at the wall and go with Noah Gragson for the Xfinity Series, James.
Dang, yeah, I was actually gonna take him because of stability.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, there's so much good coming out of that Junior Motorsports camp that I kind of want to pick a Junior Motorsports car. I can't pick Allgaier, and I'm not comfortable with Josh Berry in this situation, so I'm gonna go with Noah Gragson.
Yeah, I'm gonna take another part-timer here, and a guy who was good at plate racing back in the day. I'll take Trevor Bayne.
Nice.
So I've got the piece together part-timers squad going on so far.
There you go. And the Cup Series. This is the tough one, man, because it is there. You have the unknown of the car. You have the unknown of the track.
I know who I want to take here, but I feel like you're gonna come in and swoop in and steal it up. But we'll see.
I don't even know where you're gonna go.
Yeah.
I don't even know. Give me Ross Chastain.
Good one. Yeah. Okay. I mean, he's gonna
again.
Do
no
something.
Reason, man. I guess I should look at what the next race is. The next race is the road course, so I'm all right with that.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, Coda's. Oh, I'm losing Noah Gragson for Coda though. That's tough.
This is gonna be my first repeat of the season. Give me Ryan Blaney here. He's shown to be an excellent draft driver with the way he's run at Daytona and Talladega. If that correlates in any sort of way, I like Penske. Yeah, I'm not going to take Austin Cindric here, but Ryan Blaney, he usually finds his way around. Now his pit crew is probably going to kill me at some point, but yeah, this will be my first repeat pick. Ryan Blaney is our most picked driver of the season so far.
Interesting.
Yep.
I will say that I really, really wanted to go with Joey Logano.
Yeah, I mean Penske is going to be good here. Joey's probably going to be really solid.
Joey's good at plate races. He's also good at new situations. So Joey's probably a good pick. But you know what, James? Everybody's going to wreck out of this thing anyway. So who the heck knows? Yeah, I think no matter what the racing is this weekend, we're going to see some cars get stacked up.
Yep. But, I think so.
James, take us to the Fantasy League. How'd that go this week?
Eric, I don't even know. I can't even describe my frustration.
I don't even look at it. So
as far as like this league, I joke all the time that this league drives me crazy, but honest to God, I am at my wit's end with the league. I have finished in the top three of the four races this year, and I'm nowhere to be found in the top three for the season standing. So go figure. Kyle Larson blows the motor and takes what would have been a monster win for me and puts me in second. Justin 713, your winner, 205. I was second, 200, and Fast to the Grass, 196. Eric, you were sixth at 187. We were all pretty close.
Mid pack. It's right where I hang.
Yep. Overall standings, Justin 713 is our leader. Todd Freight Train is in second. Fast to the Grass is third, and Eric, me and you, we're not off to as shitty of a start as we normally are.
It's not bad.
No, we're right there. I'm the last person in the 700 club. You're right there, 695, fourth and fifth. So,
yeah.
I'm gonna say it one more time. Ranger.
Yeah, we're beating him.
I mean, he's lurking, right? he's playing.
He's got the strategy, James. He picks bad at the beginning of the season, and then he's got all the good drivers. He waits till the end of the season when you know who's good.
Yep.
And he'll have all those guys
with his hair on fire at some point, right?
Yep. Maybe the new car's throwing him for a loop.
Yep. So maybe or practice. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's gonna hear this and be like, "You SOBs, I'm coming for you this week." So
he's got a plan.
I'm waiting for it. Yeah, he's got a plan. I'm not worried.
He'll win it in the end.
Yeah, but that dang fantasy league, God, man.
Yeah, I don't know. James, I'm gonna give a quick shout out here, real quick. I want to shout out NASCAR, James. I know that's a little odd, but so the reason I'm going to shout him out is, and I think I teased this a little bit a week or so ago. Maybe I can't remember if I talked about it or not. But anyway, NASCAR puts the full race replays up on YouTube all the time, and a lot of old classic races. And the biggest thing for me is I like going back and watching some of those old classic races, or at least moments from them. But 9 times out of 10, you get a old video shot from an old broadcast from an old VHS tape, and the quality sucks. But NASCAR's videos, of course, are from the original film, and so you get pretty decent quality for something that was filmed in 1988, as the one was that I watched this week. Watched a good percentage of the inaugural Phoenix International Raceway race in 1988.
That's a good one. Yep.
Which was Alan Kawicki's inaugural win, the birth of the Polish victory lap, where ESPN thought that he got lost on the way to victory lane. That's the reason I watched it, James, is because I watched that race live, and I remembered in my head, Bob Jenkins saying that he got lost on the way to victory lane. Yeah. And I wanted to go back and see if I remembered that correctly, that they really thought he did. It was fun to watch. I watched a couple old Riverside races recently. I've been clicking around watching a few of those really old races from the 80s and 90s, back when I started watching the series. So good on NASCAR for putting those out there, having that content available, and not charging us for it, just giving it to us for free. So very cool. Yep. Any shout outs for you, James?
Yeah, I finished the Bubba Wallace race doc on Netflix, and just wanted to shout out NASCAR for their involvement in that. I thought it was pretty well done.
Look at our NASCAR fanboys.
Yeah, the fact that
we're real critical of NASCAR, James.
Yeah, I will say NASCAR 5 years ago wouldn't have gotten into this type of a thing where it's I mean the title of the show is called Race, and it goes into, it's not talking about cars on the track, it's talking about social injustice and a whole bunch of other things. I part of me is still shocked that they got into it as deep as they do, but I don't think the documentary is an A+ by any means. I think it's more of a B-. It would be my, here I am giving it a full critique, but I thought it was very well done. I thought it showed NASCAR in a very positive light. Bubba Wallace comes off a little bit, I think, like we know him, Eric. I'm not sure the general public knows him. He's kind of weird, but very, a nice guy, weird, kind of misunderstood. So I guess that comes across a little bit.
Okay.
And but shout out to some of our favorites who are experts on this show. I mentioned Bob Pockrass was on there, but one of the later episodes, Jordan Bianchi shows up, and I was like, it's Jordan. So to see those two in the mix with Michael Strahan, more well-known names. Jamel Hill's on there too. She used to host Sports Center. So there's a lot of people who are commentating on on this documentary show, and it was pretty well done. And with that, I'm on to Drive to Survive. I'm looking forward to it. I'm kind of saving that, so I really love that show.
I know. I wish I had more time in my life to get into these. If they were half-hour shows, James, I could do it, but because they're hour.
Drive to Survive is made for people like me who just love I guess I get into the drama. I can't help
feel
it.
like it used to be I felt like I had to commit to a movie because they were too long. And anymore, I feel like if it's more than a half hour, man, that's a commitment.
Yep.
And it's tough because I don't have a half hour or more than a half hour to spend on a show. So I usually watch before I go to bed. And I don't know, I can't get into something that's like super dramatic either, because then I'm going to stay awake and watch the next episode. And then soon it's 4:00 in the morning and I'm 6 episodes deep into a show that I can't stop watching. So, anyway, Jackass Corner. James, you got a Jackass this week? I know you do.
Yes, I do. He deleted his tweet though. But I won't give the actual Twitter handle out, but it's /AC2477 on Twitter. Tweeted at Mike Joy to get rid of the Polish victory lap because the Polish are a proud people, and he was dead serious. We're too PC in this country, man.
Yeah.
Good Lord. Kudos to Mike Joy for telling him no, because Alan Quick is a proud Polak, I guess.
I feel like Mike Joy is such a great ambassador for our sport.
He's done a great job coming at the haters.
He really has. I forgot about this tweet because this is not where I thought you were going. I thought you were going to go with Danica for asking on the broadcast.
Well, that's part of it.
What the Polish victory lap is.
Mike, is that when they drive around backwards? Is that called the Polish victory? Good Lord. Have we come this far with... new
that
fans.
Shows how out of touch Danica really is with NASCAR, which is not necessarily her fault, but man, I feel like she had to. I think she was trying to tee it up and didn't mean to sound as ignorant as she did.
She had to have. it was so bad. It was so bad.
That's just an example of why she's not good in that role. But anyway, yeah.
PC culture. Are we allowed to leave some things alone, especially when a guy with the last name Kowicki names it the Polish victory lap? Can we just leave it alone and call it the Polish victory lap?
I don't know, man. I struggle because, I get the PC aspect and I get that people are emotionally harmed by some of the things that have been said for years and years and years. And I get it. So I see both sides of it, but it's really frustrating to see even like, so I'm all for getting rid of the Confederate flag in NASCAR. I'm all for getting rid of the racism, all that stuff. But I'm a Dukes of Hazzard fan, James. And if you're blurring the Confederate flag on the top of the General Lee, that's not historically accurate.
Sure.
It bothers me when we go that far. Like, you can't change the past. Don't change it. Let's change our future.
Acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Acknowledge it.
Change our future. That's fine. But the past is the past, and you can't. It can't be changed. It's there.
Educate people about the flag and move on.
Right.
That's what we should do. I'm not taking Polish out of the Polish victory lap.
Right.
No. You can't have it. You can't have this one. You can have a whole bunch of other things. I will lead the charge into this one. I will not let this one be taken over.
Yeah. I'm with you.
It is the Polish victory lap. My God.
So my Jackass, James, I struggled with. Because I don't know who it is. I don't know who to call the jackass in this situation.
Maybe the situation is a jackass?
No, not really. So my jackass is whoever is responsible for Chase Briscoe's hair. Because the Victory Lane interview or the interview on the track was so uncomfortable.
He's got a problem like I do. Dude, he's got to shave it short.
I love Chase Briscoe, and I felt so bad for the dude because here's his hair standing up like 10 inches long. And yeah, you're right. He just needs to buzz the sucker off and just go with it, man. Poor dude needed a hat or something. Somebody should have run up and give him a hat. Fox should have, I don't know, somebody help him out. Greatest moment of his career. And he's never going to want to watch that video.
He's got a legit comb over.
He does, man. He does.
You got it. When you've got it, that Eric, you're looking at me right now and you can see the glare.
Yeah.
You got to cut it down.
Right. It looks good.
You have to. You got no other choice.
Yeah.
You've got no other choice. Keep
Love
it
you,
short.
Chase, man, but I feel for you, dude. I'm not picking on him.
As a man,
I feel bad for him.
I struggle. Eric, you've got a luscious full head of hair. I'm not as fortunate.
I had a fear my entire life that I was going to go bald. Entire life. Unfortunately,
it's legit.
I've got some receding,
life.
But it's not mine's acceptable.
You've known me for a long time in my adult life, and it's always been this way.
Yeah,
so
but it looks good. That looks good, and that would look good on Chase.
Gray. I know. I feel bad for him. I mean, his hair was standing straight up alfalfa style. It was
the wind. I don't know if it's the wind that's the jackass. If it's his barber. I don't know who the jackass is, but somebody needed to step in on that whole deal. So feel for you, Chase. Really, seriously, not picking on you, man. Congrats on the win. But I'm sorry, dude.
I just think it's Eric. You know, we can call it. It's his hair that's the jackass.
There you go.
My hair is a jackass.
Yeah, I mean, if his hair would have just cooperated in that moment, but the hair wanted it wanted the intent. It was like Mike Pence's fly, James. I could not stop looking at it, and I felt terrible about it.
I forgot about the fly. Oh, man. That's a great way to sign off the show.
Exactly.
Right there.
We just talked about Mike Pence on the podcast. There you go. Now I can tag it and get extra visits when people.
Oh my God, I forgot about the fly.
Wow. James, where can people find you on social media if they want to hit you up during the week?
At James Cush on Twitter.
If you want to yell at me for making fun of Chase Briscoe's hair and didn't make fun of it, not making fun of it, feel for him. You can do it on Twitter at TSuperspeedway. You can find the podcast on Facebook at facebook.com/TheSuperspeedway. Our podcast is on thesuperspeedway.com. You can find old episodes, show notes, links to articles we've discussed, past race coverage, photos, all that stuff on there. You can find the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Facebook. Atlanta Motor Speedway is the home this weekend for the NASCAR All 3 Touring Series. I'm excited to check it out. Can't wait to get back here next week and talk about it all. Let's see what we see on Saturday and Sunday. No clue. Probably the most unsure of what to expect we've been since the Coliseum, James. I completely don't know what to expect. Hopefully it's a good race. We'll be back to talk about it, criticize it, praise it, whatever. We'll talk about it all next week. Until then, everybody, let's go racing.